In 1945, the war ended. In Tokyo, people wept in the streets. Hiroshima was ash. The emperor spoke on the radio, the first time most Japanese citizens had ever heard his voice, and he told his nation that the unendurable must be endured. It was over. In a jungle in the Philippines, a young lieutenant named Hiroo Onoda heard none of it. He was on Lubang Island, 150 kilometers southwest of Manila. Thick jungle. No radio. 3 other soldiers beside him, hidden in the trees. Their orders were specific and absolute. Hold the island. Conduct guerrilla operations. Do not surrender. Do not die by your own hand. Wait for the army to return. He waited. Not for a year. Not for 5. He waited for 29 years. The mission. Hiroo Onoda was not an ordinary soldier. He'd been handpicked for special intelligence training, studying guerrilla warfare, philosophy, propaganda, and survival. His commanding officer told him before he left, "It may take 3 years. It may take 5. But whatever happens, we will come back for you." Onoda held onto those words for 3 decades. When the war ended in August 1945, leaflets were dropped across Lubang from Allied aircraft. The war is over. Japan has surrendered. Come out of the jungle. Onoda read the leaflets carefully. Then he decided they were enemy propaganda. Think about that for a moment. The logical system inside his mind was so tightly sealed that every piece of evidence pointing toward the truth became proof of the lie. Surrender leaflets? Propaganda. Newspapers dropped from planes? Forgeries. Letters from his own family, airdropped by the Japanese government. His hometown had been rebuilt after the bombing. The buildings in the photos didn't match his memories. Must be fake. He'd been trained to resist deception, and so he treated every truth as a deception. The years pass. One by one, his companions disappeared. Yuichi Akatsu surrendered to Filipino forces in 1950. To Onoda, this was desertion, cowardice. He and the remaining 2 men moved deeper into the jungle, changed camps every few days, left no trace. They survived on bananas, coconuts, and rice stolen from local farmers. They killed about 30 people over the years, civilians and police they believed to be enemy combatants. They sabotaged infrastructure. Japan knew he was out there. In 1952, the government dropped letters from his family, photos, personal messages, all begging him to come home. Onoda studied each one carefully. Too convenient. Too coordinated. It had to be a trick. In 1954, Shoichi Shimada was shot dead in a firefight with Philippine forces. In 1972, 27 years after the war ended, Onoda's last companion, Kinshichi Kozuka, was killed by local police while burning rice harvested by villagers. Onoda was alone. He kept fighting. The hippie and the bookshop. In 1974, a 24-year-old Japanese adventurer named Norio Suzuki set out to travel the world. He told his friends he was looking for 3 things: Lieutenant Onoda, a giant panda, and the abominable snowman. In that order. For days after arriving on Lubang, Suzuki found him. Onoda stepped out of the trees, rifle in hand, 52 years old, still in his Imperial Japanese Army uniform. Worn and repaired and worn again until it was more patched than cloth. Suzuki told him the war was over. The 2 men talked for hours in the jungle. Onoda listened. He believed Suzuki, but it didn't matter. "I will not surrender," he said calmly, "unless I am relieved of duty by a superior officer." Suzuki went back to Japan, found the photographs he'd taken as proof, and the Japanese government tracked down Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, Onoda's original commanding officer. Taniguchi had long since left the military. He was working as a bookseller. He flew to Lubang Island. On March 9, 1974, standing in a jungle clearing, Major Taniguchi read the official order relieving Hiroo Onoda of his military duties. The war mission was over. He was to lay down his arms. Onoda handed over his rifle, still fully functional. 500 rounds of ammunition, several hand grenades, and the dagger his mother had given him in 1944 to use on himself if he was ever captured. He wept, not because he was free, because he finally understood how much time was gone. The return. Japan received him as a hero. Crowds, parades, officials in suits. The nation was moved by his loyalty, awed by his endurance, unsure of exactly how to feel about what had happened to him in the interim. He was 52 years old and had missed 30 years of the world. Japan had been rebuilt from ash into an economic miracle. Everything familiar was gone, rebuilt, renamed, reborn into something he didn't recognize. Friends had aged into strangers. The country had become something he'd been fighting to protect but had never seen. He moved to Brazil, ran a cattle ranch, returned to Japan in the 1980s, set up a nature school for children, teaching them the survival skills and self-reliance that had kept him alive through the longest war of the 20th century. He died on January 16, 2014. He was 91 years old. In one of his final interviews, someone asked him whether he regretted it. Whether those 29 years in the jungle, the lost time, the isolation, the violence, the impossible loneliness, had been worth it. He said, "I devoted myself to what I believed to be right. I have no regrets about that. And that is the thing that stays with you about Hiroo Onoda. Not the years, not the endurance, not even the impossible loyalty. It's the fact that the war he was fighting was always real to him. Every single day of it. He was never delusional. He was never broken. He was exactly what his training had made him, a soldier who would not stop until he was ordered to stop. The world moved on and left him standing in a jungle. And he stood there because someone had told him to, and nobody had told him otherwise. Not in a way he could believe.